everybody, welcome back to Bug Proletariat 40K. The channel's been slowly growing here. I'm doing about a video every couple weeks, and we're almost at 200 subscribers. I'm really pumped about that. Really, when I started the channel a couple months ago, it was just to kind of showcase my ITC run with GSC this year, and trying to see how proficient I can get with the army, and how well I can do with the new codex. I'm definitely pumped about how it's going so far. The new codex is so much fun to play. It's definitely not the most powerful new codex that's come out. I mean, that's an understatement, but I feel like it's the best codex GW's ever written, and we're right at around a 50% win rate from all the data that I've seen, and I'm perfectly fine with that. You know, it's not out of the realm of possibility for GSC to pull down a medium-sized GT. I think they'll have a very tough time winning a major right now, especially with Tyranids and how bad they play against Tau. Like suit spam that I've seen is pretty popular. So I took a little hiatus, like a month, not that long, from 40K, playing some other games, but now this weekend I'm going to go back and play in the Maryland Open. If any of you listened to the FLG's Thursday show, my list was kind of previewed on there. It was just because so many lists aren't submitted yet, that wasn't exactly what I'm taking, but I have it all set now. I mean, it was set then, but this is the actual list that you'll see on my channel. And it should be about, they said 107. I'm guessing with attrition, we're going to be at like 80 people starting tomorrow, which is still a big event now. I'm pumped to playing it. It's 3 rounds on Saturday and Sunday, so we'll see how the GSC can do. I'm really hoping to come out 4-2. That would be my best finish ever at a big event, and a huge win for the GSC, I think. If I get 3-3, I'll be okay. Anything less than that, I won't be very pleased. So let's take a look at the list I'm going to take. Anybody that's listened to the last few videos knows I'm pretty high on Twisted Helix right now, in the Armor Contempt meta that's come out. And I know the rumors are circulating and some of the stuff GW's posted about the new Nephilim tournament pack, but until I actually see that whole thing, I'll deal with that when it comes. It is a whole single battalion, so this will transfer nicely over to that with loss of CP. But for right now, I think Twisted Helix is our best bet. Just with the extra strength, how fast they can be, and the mini transhuman doesn't hurt at all. And the psychic power is also huge in the auto wounding on 6s. So we're starting out my list with that Patriarch that I love to take, and he did so much work for me in my last RTT against, especially the Grey Knights player that I played. He just ripped through some paladins. With that Elixir of the Prime Specimen and Bioalchemist, so he has exploding 6s, 5-up Feel No Pain, and flat 3 damage attacks. He's got the Might for Beyond and Psychic Stimulus, along with the Twisted Helix power. And he's just my little buff machine, and when he advances and charges in there, he's going to do some serious damage. The Magus is my other caster. I'm always taking 2 casters in my GSC list, because that 3rd secondary slot, obviously they'll change with the new Nephilim book, because everybody's stuck to 3 secondary slots, but they're auto-picked, and we'll see how that all works. But for right now, I always usually take a psychic secondary there. Mental Interrogation has been my go-to, but I haven't taken some of the other ones like Ritual if the game leans towards those. This guy is the Unwilling Orb, which against Tyranids has been amazing. It was amazing against Grey Knights. I know Thousand Suns is getting big in the meta. Eldar, being able to deny twice anywhere on the board. This should go in every single GSC list no matter what you're playing. And this guy has Massive Gnosis and Mental Onslaught, both of those getting a +1 to cast from the Unwilling Orb also. My other character is going to be a Nexos with Cranial Inlay. The power of throwing a Crossfire token down, I've taken the Nexos out a couple times and re-added him back in, and I always miss that free Crossfire token. As you can see, the Nexos isn't giving buffs across the table from anyone in this list. He's just giving me the 5-up command point farm, which I think we're definitely going to need later, but I found it pretty useful. And that Crossfire token coming down, so I can guarantee I'm not going to get shot by Overwatch, where it could really hurt some of the squishier units. I can make a unit fight last, so if I charge in multiple places, I really am not going to care in that one spot about the interrupt strat. Then we're going to move on to some troops. 10 neophytes, they're just going to hold the backfield and score some R&D for me. They usually at the end of the game they're still alive, because, well, if you're killing those 10 neophytes, I'm in big trouble, and it really doesn't matter. But if the game's going okay, they're alive, and I'll use the 1 CP strat to pick them up and get my last R&D points in a corner somewhere if I haven't managed already towards the end of the game. 2x5 acolytes, 1 with lying weight. These guys are the ones that are going to come in and try and get R&D on turns 2 and 3. Sometimes you can play some jank with them. Your opponents don't typically forget that they're there, and I try and remind people like, hey, don't forget you got 5 acolytes chilling in your very back corner of a table that just R&D'd. But there have definitely been games where 5 acolytes have lived, just because when 30 Genestealers are coming at you with acolytes and rock drills coming at you, you just might not have enough guns to turn around and deal with 5 acolytes. And later in the game, those 5 acolytes are sprinting onto objectives and being super annoying. But if all they do is R&D, and the one lying in wait steals a primary objective with a 3-inch deep strike, they're perfectly happy paying for their points. Next, we have 2 units of 10 acolytes with 4 drills each. One of these has a trap sprung for the 3d6 charge. In my last list, I had 15 metamorphs with the trap sprung, and I thought with the exploding 6s, and I just thought that would be so many attacks. It was going to just knock through everything that could be out there in the meta and steal an objective. And it just wasn't the case. 9 Tyranid warriors fully buffed up. The metamorphs, hurt, but did not take the objective away from. And then even bigger squads of sanguinary guard and things like that, the metamorphs aren't really going to kill. So 10 acolytes with 4 drills probably doesn't kill as much, or maybe about the same with the drills, depending on how you roll. But they have the added bonus of being OBSEC, so hopefully you hit them hard enough where the hit back won't be too bad, and you've got OBSEC bodies on an objective in their turn. That second unit is definitely going to just hide behind some ruins and be a cheaper unit to pop out and be kind of a deterrent with the advancing and charging. For my last troops, we have a big unit of 15 acolytes with 6 drills, and with our time is nigh buff, along with the enhanced resilience for the 5 buff Feel No Pain. This is my big counter assault unit. After the 30 Genestealers move out, this unit's hiding somewhere in fully obscured terrain, and with advancing and charging, it's going to make it very, very difficult for my opponent to want to come and take a center objective on any of the 5 objective missions. There's not a lot in the game that wants to be hit by 6 drills, especially the first time they attack, getting extra attacks. And I thought about taking the exploding 6s on these guys, but we'll see. I think 15 acolytes with 6 drills are just going to annihilate stuff. And against some armies out there, like Bladestorming Eldari, that 5-up Feel No Pain could come in handy, especially if I can, put them in cover so they'll get a save and that. We'll see if I can, maximize the use of this unit. Is going to make or break the list, I think. Next, we've got 3 units of 10 Genestealers, one with a pre-game move out of the blip, or pre-blip move, I guess. These guys are just all-stars in Twisted Helix. 30 Genestealers moving 9 inches, strength 5, 4 attacks each. A lot of times they're going to have Might for Beyond for a 50 attack unit. In my RTT, they ran Roughshot over Sengard, Grey Knight Paladins, even Tyranid Warriors. I threw 20 of them into the 9 and 3 turns to shoot through them, just unfortunately just not fast enough. So 30 Genestealers, if you're playing Twisted Helix, I think 30 Genestealers is the next thing you put in there after that next dose. My Biophagus, I kind of wish I didn't have to take this guy, but to make the Super Patriarch and give the 5-up Feel No Pain to the 15 Acolytes, you gotta have him in there. I gave him the Familiar and the Alchemist Supreme. During the game, he's just gonna try and buff those 2 10-man Acolyte squads to see if they can get exploding 6s or enhanced resilience. And, at least even the extra AP on attacks is pretty good. So he's not terrible. We have 2 units of 4 Jackals with 1 demo charge each. These are typically my first turn. If I'm going first and I really don't want to commit a lot of stuff, they're going to get me my Stranglehold. They're going to be my move blockers since they're so fast. They can definitely charge into shooting units and be a pain in the butt because they're -1 to hit. So they've been, like a little Swiss Army knife for me. I've really enjoyed the 2 units of 4. This is probably the biggest change in my list, aside from the 15 Acolytes, is the 3-time Ridge Runners with missiles and spotters. So it's 9 shots at string 6, AP3, flat 3 damage at 48 inches, and then the 18 stubber shots. In this place, and some other minor changes, was 10 of the Aberrants before. The Aberrants were very, very tough and bogged stuff down, but they're not OBSEC. Armor Contempt really hurt them because they're hitting stuff at AP1. They were killing like nothing, and I just didn't rate them for the 300 points. So I'm going to try the Ridge Runners. The Ridge Runners obviously are very decent shooting, mixed with the two Rock Grinders that we'll talk about in a second. The list actually, my list before had like 0 shooting, and this is actually a legitimate threat. If my opponent wants to shoot at these, they're not shooting at my Genestealers, Acolytes, and other things out there, which I think is a big help. The Ridge Runners actually, which I forgot to put on here, have the first turn Strategic Reserve Perfect Planning upgrade. So before the game starts, after we know who goes first, I can take these off the board and kind of redeploy them anywhere in the first turn, which means they're definitely going to shoot something useful, at least for one turn. Another role for them, they can kind of act like those tough Aberrants who were kind of a roadblock. If my opponent doesn't have good targets, or it's coming down to the time in the game where I'm losing things out in the front lines, these Ridge Runners are absolutely fast enough to get up and block off objectives, hold objectives of their own. If I might be light somewhere and I just need more bodies, or trucks in this case, on the objectives. So don't let me down, Ridge Runners. I took out some Aberrants for you, and I hope I'm not wrong about it. The last name list is just 2 empty Rock Grinders with Seismic Cannons. These were really, really good in my RTT I played last month. Seismic Cannons are awesome extra shooting, great at throwing down extra crossfire markers. If I can put somewhere, that the Nexus didn't, and their charging attacks are really, really good. The AP2 kind of sucks in Armor Contempt, but I find it's really, really hard for anything hitting back to get through their Toughness 7, 3-up save, and with the -1 damage. So that's the list. I'll try and post in the Facebook group, the GSC Facebook group, how I'm doing this weekend with some pictures. Some new pictures on the slideshows will be added after for the next video. And hopefully we get to that 4-2 I'm looking for. 3-3 will be okay. I'm just really worried about Tau in the meta. Tyranids are tough, obviously. I think GSC have a really good play into the better Armor Contempt armies like Blood Angel, Space Wolves, and there's a Death Watch player there, I believe. So we'll see. Sisters, I'm not so sure. We'll have to see what kind of armies are there. Well, hopefully we can pull it out this weekend, and best of luck in your games as well if you're playing this weekend. Hopefully we can get some wins for the GSC together. Thanks for listening, and feel free to subscribe and comment down below what you're taking this weekend if you're going to any tournaments.